wireframe mode. This doesn't look easier, but believe me, you get used to seeing stuff like this. So right now, we want to make sure we're not selecting the eyeball and we're selecting the correct vert. So what you'll see is this is the vert we have selected. And all you need to do is follow the line. Oh man, that looks like it's right on the eye. Look at that. And we're looking at this vert right here. It looks like it's right on top of the eye. So let's do something else so that we can make this a little bit easier for ourselves. Let's go back out of wireframe into our smooth shade all mode. Let's go back to object mode. Let's go back to the outliner. Let's go to our joint eyeball left. Let's set a key on that on frame 0. So hit S. And then on frame, let's just do frame 5 just to be safe. Hit S again. And now let's move this out on our x-axis. All right, there we go. Hit S again. And there you go. Now we're going to go back to the outliner, close that back, select our vertex, go to frame 30. And now we can see it a little bit better. So we move the eye out the way. Those vertices were exactly on the same point, which is awesome because it shows that the modeler took into consideration the centering of the rotational axes of where the eye sits and where the eyelids are, which is going to be good for us because when we rotate the eyelid down, it should contour really well over the eye. So that's good, but that did make it difficult to see because they all fell on that one point. And if you selected the wrong one, now you're selecting the eyeball, and you're like, oh, everything looks good. And then when you rotate it, the eyeball's deforming wrong. So we just moved it out the way. It's still fine. It still works where it's at once we go back to frame 0 and kill these keys. But we can actually select things a lot easier. So select that whole row of verts. We are going to give that a value of 1 for the upper eyelid. So once you have them all selected, let's scroll down over here in our skin joints area, and we're going to select joint eyelid L upper, and we want that to be 1. So as you can see, they already started to conform down. And now what we want to do is we want to just take these next sets of segments and start to blend them down. Now that was a flat. The way it's modeled, we go to the other one to look at it real quick. That was a flat row of verts. Like you see how that's flat? So we're going to want the inner and the outer to be 1. So we're going to select that next row and we're going to make that 1 as well. So let's select not this one right in the corner of the eye, but the one next to it. And select each vert. On the corner of the eye, you can kind of leave that one where it is, but we're going to select these verts right here and then going to hit 1 again. So this is where we start to get into that tearing like I was telling you about. The next row of verts, what we can do is we can actually start to blend them. Do a 50-50, and the 50-50 that we're going to be blending between is going to be between the joint eyelid L upper and the head. So right now they're already weighted to the head. We just need to give it a little bit more influence for the eye controller. So let's select the next row of segments. And let's do this for the eyelid upper at a 50%. So we're going to hit 0.5. It's going to look a little broken out here, but we're going to address all that once we get to it. So that's at 50%. Let's do... I kind of like how that contour is up there if you look up on this one, but we're going to give it a little bit of influence. Not a lot. We'll do like a 2.5 or something. We want to see what that looks like because I like how it's giving that hard contour, but we still want to bring that down a little bit. Like that nice edge. It kind of goes with the how the model design was for it. So let's do a 0.25. That might be a bit much. That might be a bit much, but it looks kind of cool. What does one look like? That's not enough. 2.5. That looks good. We can bring the other one down a little bit more though. Is this one a part of it? It is. So let's do all of these again. And we'll do these to, we can do increments of 0.10. It's already 50-50, so let's do 60-40. That looks pretty good. So now what we need to do is we need to, if you scrub through it, we need to make sure that the corners of the eye are not breaking into the skin of the lower part of the eye. And the way we can do that is we have to give it back some of the influence to the head joint. So let's go and delete some of our keys right quick. Let's go back to object mode. Go back to the outliner. Select our eyeball. Go to frame 5. Select these keys. You can either put the cursor, not the cursor. Let me see. You can either put the time slider bar on frame 5 since we know that's what we picked, or if you're like, I can't eyeball it, you can click this right here on the time slider. This will take you to your next key always. So see, it goes to 0, it goes back to 5. You only have 2 keys. You can right click on this, and what I did before was I just did a shift click to select and drag over it in order to select. You don't have to do that. You can use either way. So let's use this one. Right click on it, and you want to delete that key. Go to our next key. You want to delete this key as well. All right, so now we don't have any more keys on our eyeball, so we can see the eye blinking over the eyeball. But you can see that tearing and stretching that I was telling you about. So that's something that we can also go and adjust in our texture as well. But for now, we're going to leave it how it is. So we want to rotate this lid down a little bit more than what it is so that we can just get an idea of just how far is far of where we would actually want to do it. So hit E, rotate it down a little bit more. I want to rotate it down to where this part, the highest crest type part of the eye lid, is down kind of touching the lower lid, because the lower lid doesn't really, we're not reptiles, or some people think we are, but we're not reptiles. We want to make sure that our lower lid doesn't have to come up and meet the eye too much. We're not going for a super cartoony feel for this. It's fine to have it go up a little bit when you're blinking, but it shouldn't go up this much. If we were to leave it like this, the lower lid shouldn't come up that high. That'd be kind of strange. It'll look strange. So let's just say this is our max extreme that we have here. So we can set a key, and now we know where our max is. So now we need to go in and blend. We need to go in and blend from here out to the skin and give that influence back to the head joint. So that's what we're going to work on now. So we can close the outliner. We can select our mesh. We can go back to vertex mode. Let's kind of scrub back so we can go select our keys. And we're going to start at one end and work our way around. So we're going to select this vert, which is a 1. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3. And we're going to go back and we're going to give this a little bit more influence here on the head joint. So we're going to select the head joint. Again, inside of our skin joints is where you want to select that. And now let's just use our increment set weights, the custom weight values here. And let's go up by value of 0.1. So as you can see, as I'm going up, this one cleared. So you kind of want to deselect that one. Let's keep going up. This one just cleared. Let's deselect that one. Oops. And we still have this last one. We're at a 60-40. Oh, let's leave that one there. That one looks like it may be fine too. Let's go to our next set of verts. So we can scrub back. Yeah, we can scrub back. That looks good. Let's select 1, 2, 3. Let's scrub forward. And so now what we want to do is we want to, again, select the head on our skin joints. And we want to go increments 2, 3. That looks like a pretty good spot there. So now this one is a 0.43 and a 0.56. That's a bit much for this one, but not for these down here. So let's select this one back, and we're going to go back to the eyelid upper. Let's give a little bit of this back so we can have a nice contour there. We might want to give a little bit back to this one too. There we go. Yeah, that was one too much. All right. So it looks pretty good. Let's go to our next set. That's a little bit too low. Let's go back to that one and give that one back a 60-40 for the head joint. For these two, we want to give them a little bit back to the upper eyelid. Maybe we can do a 0.05. Yeah, let's do a 0.05. 0.05. All right, that's good. It's going to be the beginning of a nice curve that we're going to have there. The rest of this looks good until we get to the end over here. So let's open up the eye again so we can see what we're looking at. And I think we're going to have to, select these verts over here. 1, 2, 3. We're going to have to start blending those out. So scroll forward. The one that's right here might be fine, but let's just adjust that as well. We can always take it back to what it is. We're going to go and select the head. And let's go back to our increment of 0.10. And let's just start giving that a little bit more influence back to the head. All right. So what we're going to do is let's bring that back. Let's bring that back. Undo is what I'm doing right now. So we want to add this to the head, maybe 1, 2 right there. Deselect this one. And now bring the others up. There you go. What happened just now that I had to use the undo was that the vertice, I'll show you this vertice right here, the one that's red that's showing up that I'm hovering over. We went back so far where we put that back to the head at 100%, And once we did that, when I hit the minus to take it back down to what it was, the system didn't know what, or the program